Big news dropped today as Brian Robinson Jr. was traded to the San Francisco 49ers. We're covering the fantasy fallout here today, and a lot of people are looking at Chris Rodriguez with one of their last picks. Depending on how deep your draft is, how many rounds, you may or may not be looking at him. But we're going to cover the good, the bad, the ugly to see whether or not you need him for fantasy football either now or later. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're doing these deep dives every day. On top of that, draft strategies. We're going to help you set your lineups, and we're going to find those gems off the waiver wire. Click that button. Stop missing out. Ric Flair's watching. You do not want to disappoint Ric Flair, so hit that button. But first things first, the trade. Brian Robinson Jr. traded for a 6th-round pick to the San Francisco 49ers. This is going to stir things up. He's going to be handcuffed now to Christian McCaffrey. He's pretty much going to go into Isaac Garando territory of the draft. We're going to see him drop on underdog because now he's a backup running back. He's going to have to ramp up with the 49ers. This is going to change up the backfield quite a bit. And now you're watching him from a distance. But we're all watching Chris Rodriguez. He's made some noise in preseason. Everybody's looking at Jacory Crosky-Merritt. He's already been drafted in a lot of leagues. And now people are looking at Chris Rodriguez. Whether or not they need to pick him up in their drafts. And this may be more for deeper leagues, your traditional 14 to 16 round leagues. He might be outside that scope. This was a running back prospect that was not highly recruited. He went to Kentucky. He was a 3-star recruit, ranked as the 64th best running back per the composite of 24/7 Sports. And he was productive at Kentucky. Had a 1,100-yard season, 904 yards on 8 games there at Kentucky that final year in 2022. Averaged 4 yards after contact per attempt on his career. 3.8 for that final season with 3.9 for the year prior. And then yards after the catch per reception. 11.2 that final year. And he's good with the ball in his hands. He's got good vision. He can put defenders in a blender. He's got good patience. He did get suspended for DUI that final year. That's why he only played 8 games. And that really affected his draft stock as he fell to the 6th round. He was very productive in the SEC. Turned out yards game after game after game. But that caused him to fall in the draft. And now he's climbing his way up the Washington Commanders depth chart. And this depth chart changed today. Jacory Crosky-Merritt's the guy. And we're looking at Austin Eckler. He's the dependable veteran. Jeremy McNichols is a guy that hit in some games last year. And Chris Rodriguez is there. And Jacory Crosky-Merritt has good speed, good athleticism. Fell in this year's draft. Killing it in training camp. Killing it in OTAs, minicamp, and rookie camp. Looking good in preseason. Everybody's pegging him as the guy in this backfield. A lot of fantasy gamers has been putting money on him. Rightfully so. And we did a video on him. Go check it out just a few hours ago. Austin Eckler, the old veteran here in this offense. Good at catching the ball out of the backfield. Had 2 RB1 weeks, 2 RB2 weeks last year. He will be getting work. He's dependable. He's good in the pass game. He's Austin Eckler. But we're on the back 9 of his career. And odds are we're going to miss some games we did last year. There's a chance for that. It is the running back position. He's older. And Jeremy McNichols is a testament to what Chris Rodriguez can do. He came out there week 4, blew up. He's had some good weeks. And he can perform with this team. And Chris Rodriguez can perform with this team. He has 2 games of double-digit PPR scoring production. Last year, week 13, his rookie season, 2023, week 16, 19.5 points. He can put it together when given the opportunity. It's a very small sample, but it says Chris Rodriguez, when given some touches, maybe around the red zone, can score you some fantasy points. He can definitely do that. So this is a running back to pay attention to as he's looking good in preseason. His last game here on 6 carries, 62 yards with a 10.3 average. The week prior, 7 carries, 24 yards, 3.4 yards per carry against the Patriots. But he's reeled off some runs. Everybody's paying attention to him. The coaching staff has been talking him up in the media, saying they can use him around the red zone. Those red zone touches are huge. And you're looking at what this backfield did last year. There's 187 carries gone. It's got to go somewhere. Bill Crosky's going to get some of that. He's going to get some of that. Austin Eckler's going to get some of that. Jeremy McNichols might get some of that. But Chris Rodriguez is emerging. He might get a little bit of work. Everybody's searching him up for a reason. And he's starting to get drafted on underdog drafts. Round 18, best ball pick. That being said, if your league goes 14, 15, 16 rounds, he's probably outside your scope right now. That's the thing about this. So you probably watched this whole video and you're like, so I shouldn't draft him? So I shouldn't pick him up? But you said you need. You might need him later. You might need to be picking him up off the waiver wire. You might need him if you're going 18 rounds. Over a course of a season, he might get you some good production. He might get some red zone work. That's the thing about this. You might be in a deeper league. You might be in a dynasty league where he's on waivers right now, and you can pick him up and throw him on the end of your bench. There's a lot of scenarios here in fantasy football. There's a lot of formats here outside of your traditional redraft leagues. Traditional redraft right now, he's outside the scope. You may use him for a dart throw, but I like Ollie Gordon. I like Woody Marks. I like some of these young rookies who are falling to that last round, who have a lot of upside, and there's a lot of upside falling past that, like a DJ Giddens that you may want to chase. So typically outside of that range, there's still more guys that have more upside than Chris Rodriguez. But what we do like about Chris Rodriguez, good vision, good between the tackles, might get some red zone work, might sneak across that goal line a time or two, might get more work than expected in this offense. Early in the season, he's been on this team for a bit. They've kept him around. That's something to look at. He's good enough to make Brian Robinson, him and Bill, good enough to make Brian Robinson dispensable. You're looking at the ADP drafters are drafting him. They are looking at him every day and pushing that button, putting money down with one of their last picks and drafting Chris Rodriguez because they want part of this offense. We got 3 running backs getting selected in ADP off the board in the top 18 rounds on average. That's something to pay attention. On top of that, Austin Eckler has an injury history. He's over 30 years old. That's something to pay attention to. You may not need him in your draft right now if you're only drafting in a league that's drafting 14 to 16 rounds, but you may get him off the waiver wire later on down the road. You might be picking him up. Something happens to Eckler. Something happens to Bill. Something happens in this backfield. We're watching this offense. It can move the chains. You're watching the depth chart. That's why you need him. That's why you need to pay attention to him. You might be in a deeper league. You might be in an 18-teamer, 16-teamer, 22-team league. You might be in a dynasty league. I get a lot of dynasty gamers watching this channel. There's a lot of different formats of fantasy football out there. He fits a lot of those molds. He's a stash play. There's a lot more stash plays I like better, but still a stash play. There's touch risk here, and it's obvious. Everybody likes Old Bill. Everybody likes Austin Eckler as the veteran. But we're watching to see if any of these guys break down. We're watching the goal line work. He might get more work than expected. That is something to pay attention to as he's starting to show up here in preseason. But we're looking at him right now because he's an upside play on a team that can move the football. If attrition hits this team, this is a running back to pay attention to. Outside the scope, if you're drafting in leagues with just 14 and 16 rounds. If you're drafting 18 rounds, 20 rounds, yeah, you're paying attention to him. 16-teamer, 18-teamer, 20-teamer, 22-teamer, yeah, you're paying attention to him because this is a very explosive offense. Dynasty leagues, pick up for the end of your bench. If you got deeper benches, you're stacking running backs, and if he starts to hit, you're going to flip him for picks in the season if you don't need the points for the right now, because this is not a prospect that's going to be a big thing for the Commanders year in and year out. They're going to patch it up if something happens to Bill, if he's not panning out, or if they have to make changes in season. That being said, in Dynasty, you're going to get off of him and pivot if he starts to hit, unless you absolutely need the production and you're in run for money. That being said, this is a player you still need to pay attention to. even in traditional leagues, because you might be picking him up later on down the road. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.